What's going on, everybody? It's Davey from the 80s, and you are now entering the Cinema Chop Shop, so park your ass right there. And while you're there, don't forget to hit the like, the share, and the subscribe button. Also, if you check the link below, you'll see a Patreon account. You click it, you become a member. All you got to do is try recommend movies and music and trailers for me to react to, so click the link. Now, with that being said, we're here today to do a Patreon request. The homie Jody Joe from Jody's Corner, shout out to Jody Corner. Go ahead and subscribe to that channel if you have not already for that real content. The homie joined the Patreon this week and he told me, I want you to review Braveheart. Now, I've already seen Braveheart per request of Jody Joe, but I went ahead and watched it again. And it's really amazing when you're watching a movie for the second time and you pick up on a lot of things that you probably didn't realize the first time or appreciate the first time. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Now, I didn't know. I thought this mofo just started in the shit, but I didn't know that Mel Gibson actually directed this damn movie. So Mel Gibson has a hell of a track record of his directing career. The man has put out some really good shit. I don't think he's done not one bad director. In his director seat, I don't think he's done one bad movie. Right? This movie was written by Randall Wallace, who also has a nice little track record when it comes to writing films. Right? He has the few films that he has worked on, they have been really good movies. Now, this movie is documenting the life of William Wallace. I know that from my knowledge, I know this movie isn't really historically accurate, but you know, we'll get to. I mean, that's neither here nor there because the movie itself is a freaking amazing movie. Braveheart has always talked in circles about being top 5 greatest movies of all time, must see movies of all times. It has like that reputation.
I feel like Vegeta after he just saw the power of Sail Perfect.
And it wasn't until maybe like a year ago that I actually sat down and watched Braveheart. Like the movie never really caught my interest. It wasn't really something that I was checking for, but I know that it has that cinematic masterpiece stamp, boom, right on top of it, right? So, upon watching this movie again, I started to realize, like, even though I caught it the first time, but it really sunk into my head, how freaking amazing the score is. The score in this movie is freaking fantastic, dude. Like, seriously, like, when they're going off to war and it has, like, this little Celtic medley, and then it has, like, the orchestra kind of, like, backing it up, that hit really hard. And then also at the end, the theme that's playing while Mel Gibson is being tortured and executed, that score right there is phenomenal. Freedom, right? Sorry, I'm a little bit hoarse. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that this movie is freaking phenomenal all the way through. Like, even though like most of the characters, like I'm not really familiar with a lot of them. In other acting roles, I know some have done roles in like different Bond movies. I know one guy's done some Saw movies. I mean, I know like the little tidbits, but I don't think they've like starred in any other movie. But that doesn't take anything away from what they've done to this movie. This movie isn't, to me, a very dialogue-driven movie. Like, I didn't really feel like it had that much dialogue, but the limited dialogue that it did have, it hit home. Like, it was condensed and straight to the point, and that's kind of what I like about movies like this. You kind of see a movie with an almost 3-hour runtime, you get kind of scared because you're like, damn, that's a pretty long-ass movie, right? So you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, well, they're probably going to be talking my ears off. Nah, not really. This movie is kind of like a cinematic thing. It has a lot of visuals to it. The wide angle shots are freaking amazing of the fields and the forest and things like that. The war scenes are freaking phenomenal, dude. Like they're really, really good. And then once you're watching this movie, you start to see more things where movies have kind of like borrowed ideas from this movie. Like you can see how much Gladiator was influenced by Braveheart. There's other movies that have been influenced by it. It skipped my mind because I watched it a little bit earlier today. There was another movie that came to mind while I was watching it, but you know, it kind of like it's eluding me at the moment. So, but honestly, like I said, Braveheart, freaking fantastic movie. Mel Gibson does an awesome job as Mr. William Wallace himself, Sir William Wallace. And when I remember when I was younger, I used to think that this movie was like, oh fuck, it's like a love story wrapped in a war movie. Like I ain't trying to watch this shit. But it's crazy because there is a kind of a love element to it, but it's not. It's not really one of those things where it muddies the story. Like I've always been worried about movies, certain movies and things like that, where I'm like, oh shit, like there's a love story wrapped in here, and this shit's about to throw off the story. No, the movie kind of like goes over it, but it doesn't spend too much time on it. I was kind of amazed at the fact that they were able to they were kind of able to graze over the love story aspect and yet still make it relevant to the story, right? So, for those of you familiar with the movie, hopefully everybody that's watching this review right now has seen this movie. Um, at the beginning of the movie, Mel Gibson's wife that he took in secrecy because of that document or the decree that the king made, she's killed by the British, right? And in revenge, Mel Gibson goes and then wages war against them, and basically not only takes back freaking Scotland, but this fool he he tries to take over Britain, right? Which is a freaking amazing feat in its own way. Watching this fucking movie, dude. When I was watching it, and I'm just watching people get their fucking heads stabbed in, heads bashed in, throats cut, things like that. And you just have to love the practical effects of the era. Can we please get a round of applause for the freaking practical effects of the era? I don't think people understand and appreciate these things anymore. Like, I hate... Now I'm watching movies and, like, people are talking about, well, freaking Avengers has one of the best massive fight scenes ever. Fuck that. I do not count any movie that has a CGI fight scene as the greatest fight scene ever. Like, you're not going to give me just like, okay, Cap is fighting a CGI Thanos, and I'm just supposed to be okay with this. No, and then you have all these characters fighting in the background that are CGI rendered. No, if you want to have like a greatest fight of all time, these people actually need to be fighting, which happens in this movie. Like, you have so many freaking close-ups of random fights that happen, the chaos and carnage that's ensuing on the battlefield, and then you realize how fucking brilliant of a strategist William Wallace was, especially when it comes to this war shit. He was a guerrilla warfare tactician. The man was freaking years and leagues ahead of himself. The homie Del Boy apparently is related to Uncle Argyle, the dude that plays Uncle Argyle. That's one of his distant relatives. He tells me about it all the time. Like, that's one of the, but he doesn't want to like be like that he doesn't want to fanboy out over it because that's one of his favorite movies. Like I said, Braveheart is in a lot of people's top 5 movies, the greatest movies of all time. And I honestly see why. It's a really fantastic movie. That last scene, the execution scene, is a very like emotionally driven, especially, and then the score assists how emotional it was, and you see how tough of a person William Wallace was, how he refused to take the little drink in order to numb the pain. He didn't want the king to have any satisfaction of hearing him scream out in agonizing pain or beg for mercy or anything like that. He wanted to be a legend, which he ended up turning out to be in the end, because his legend was what motivated Robert the Bruce in order to continue his legacy and his war and the things that he began. I haven't seen the Robert the Bruce movie. I know Jody was telling me that he watched half of it and he didn't like it. One of these days I plan on watching it. I'll get around to it eventually. But the fact that people that love Braveheart don't seem to be very enthusiastic about Robert the Bruce is very eyebrow raising. So I'll be very hesitant to watch that. But, I mean, like I said, it seems, based off of the trailer that we saw on that movie, it seemed like it was going to be something really good because it seemed like it had the heart of what Braveheart was, right? So, you know, them long cinematic shots and maybe like a really good score and, you know, maybe a lot of practical and physical fighting, like, you know, those things. I can't complain about Braveheart whatsoever, but it's really crazy when you're watching this movie and you just see how much this movie influenced cinema, like, altogether. It's a freaking amazing movie, and I'm really glad that Jody recommended that I became a Patreon supporter specifically to recommend that I watch Braveheart, I know that probably the next movie this fool's going to tell me to watch. He's going to tell me that I have to watch Superman, the old school one, you know, the one with the, you know, mommy, that. So that's my review. I think Braveheart is a freaking excellent film. Uh, it's really a cinematic masterpiece, and it should be treasured by any freaking sort of cinephile or anybody that consumes film. This movie should be treasured by anybody. It should be protected at all costs. Braveheart is a freaking excellent example of what a good movie is, and what a good movie should be, and it doesn't have to do anything really like over the top in order to make itself a great movie. It just is what it is. It does it with its shots. It does it with its score. The limited dialogue that it has is meaningful. And don't even let me get started on the freaking Irishman, the madman, who joins William Wallace in his quest for revenge against the freaking British. That dude himself was awesome. I remember when I watched it the first time, and as soon as he came in, we get to see the very next scene where he's hunting in the forest and he's about to kill a deer, and he sees the Irishman running, and then you see some other guy running, and you're thinking the Irishman is going to attack William Wallace, and even William Wallace is thinking that he's going to attack him. He prepares his bow, and then the guy throws the sword, and it hits the guy behind him, right? So, and the Irishman at this point shows that he is the true ally to William Wallace. That was a really nice little bait and switch. When I first watched it, it did get me. I was like, yo, why do you even care what this guy thinks, you know? Why are you even trusting this guy? But that's neither here nor there. The movie's great. The movie has really great dialogue, great score. The movie's a freaking solid movie all the way through. This is an A+ film, easily, hands down. So that's my review. If you guys want to recommend a movie for me to review, you can go ahead and click my Patreon link. I'll put it in the description, and it will be the first comment in the comment section down below. You can click it, join the Patreon for a couple of bucks a month. You can recommend movies for me to review, and I will get to them as soon as possible. I'd appreciate all the support that you guys give me and continue to help my channel grow. That's my review. Let me know if you agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. Drop it in the comment section down below, and you are now exiting the Cinema Chop Shop. Hope you guys are having a magnificent day. Adios, homie.